So I have always been that friend, the one person who corners you anywhere and goes, wait, have you read that book yet? Haven't you read this yet? Yeah, that's me. So today we are talking about the books I can't stop recommending, the ones I forced on friends, family, even my mail carrier, basically anyone who will listen. And these aren't just the good books. These are the books that made me feel something, that changed how I see the world, or they were just so perfectly executed. I wanted to slow down reading and also clap when I was finished. So, some of these are literary, some are thrillers, some are fantasy, but they all have one thing in common is that they really linger. So, let's get comfy, pull out your TBR app, and I hope I can add some books to your reading list. So, first, let's start with the book that broke my brain. And that book is The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley. Now, full disclosure, I am a Natasha Pulley fan. I will read anything Natasha writes, but this book ruined me in the best possible way. So, it's an alternate history where Napoleon conquered England, and a man named Joe wakes up one day with no memory except fragments that don't add up. And then there's this postcard that somehow gets delivered a century after it was mailed. And suddenly, we're in this time bending, emotionally devastating spiral that really asked, if you lost your entire life, would you still recognize you, but also would you still recognize love? Listen, this is not just clever, it's haunting. And Pulley weaves paradoxes like she's knitting fate itself, and the emotional payoff, amazing. I was texting friends about this one, saying that they have to read it because I needed someone to talk about this immediately. I would say this is good for readers if you loved The Time Traveler's Wife, or is it Life After Life or something like that? Then you'll really enjoy this one. Now, I'm currently reorganizing my romance bookshelf, so I can't find this one, but the perfect modern romance for me that I keep recommending is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This book is electric. It's sexy, it's emotional, it's funny, and it's just so painfully human all at the same time. So we have two writers, Eva and Shane. They reconnect 15 years after the most intense week of their lives. And it's just a story about love and trauma and artistry and what it means to love someone who's seen the darkest parts of you. I mean, every time I recommend this, someone messages me later saying, okay, I get it now, because it's not just a romance. It's a whole world. The Black literary community in Brooklyn, the generational healing, motherhood, forgiveness. It's just so alive. And if you've ever loved someone who felt like home, but is also fire at the same time, this book will break you and then put you back together and leave you whole. I've given this to quite a few friends. Listen, I'm not a crier, but two of my friends cried. But I had one friend who called me to scream about it. So trust me, this one is really good. Now it's time for the book that feels like magic, and it's The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. Now I have to tell you, this book has my whole heart. I want you to imagine you work in this little bookshop. It's in Manhattan. An elderly customer comes in, dies, and leaves you a book that can open any door. That is the premise. However, this is not just a fantasy. It's about choice, love, and how every door you open changes you. But it also has mystery, time travel, dark academia energy, and that bittersweet wonder that reminds me of The Night Circus, which I absolutely loved, or Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore that I loved as well. Now, I have to tell you, the first person I recommended this to is a friend who doesn't read fantasy. And yes, it's fantasy light, but she was texting me, why did I do this to her? And it's that kind of book. It is really affecting, and it makes readers out of people who swore they weren't, especially the ones who say they don't read fantasy. Now, the next book is a book that has been living rent-free in my head since I read it the first time, but it's also one of the books I've been wondering, why aren't more people talking about this? I don't know if it's my algorithm, but I haven't been seeing it, and it's Light Perpetual by Frances Spofford. This one I feel is so underrated, it really hurts, because it's about 5 children who were killed in a 1944 bombing. However, the author imagines what their lives might have been like if they survived. So every 15 years, we check back in, we see who they are, who they've become, what they love, what's breaking them, and just all the things. It's so tender. It's profound. It's full of London fog and music and humanity. And this is perfect if you read and loved One Day, or This Is How You Lose a Time War, but wanted more realism and heart. This book is it. It really reminds you how precious and messy and beautiful life is. I like to call this my make your call to your mom book and your friends and your family and just everyone you love book. Next up is the book I like to call the Gothic Marvel. And this is The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I am not exaggerating. I read this book in under, I'm going to say 36 hours. I started reading and I couldn't stop. It's pure chaos at sea in the best way. So it's set in 1634, and there's this ship that is full of criminals. There's a leper who burst into flames, and there's whispers of a demon called Old Tom. It's part mystery, part supernatural thriller, part social commentary, part historical fiction, and Turton takes the locked room mystery format and drops it in the middle of the ocean, then adds class tension. There's also forbidden love and one of the best detective duos since Holmes and Watson. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but it's that good. And I think the reason I kept turning the pages and I read this in a flurry was because it's cinematic, but it's also brainy. It's morally complex. And I've called this one the Pirates of the Caribbean meets Agatha Christie with a dash of theology in there as well. So if you like your mysteries that are a bit odd, but also brilliant, I'm telling you, this will live rent free in your head too. And you will be flying through the pages. Now, the next book I'm going to recommend feels like you've lived a whole lifetime, but it's so worth it. It's also a chunky book, but you have to read The Love Songs of W.E. Du Bois by Honoré Fanone Jeffers. If this isn't the great American novel, I don't know what is, because this is about family, it's about race, it's about identity, it's about trauma, it's about survival, and so many different things, but it's told through generations of Black women in Georgia. We have Ailey, who's our protagonist, who essentially becomes a historian, and we see her tracing her lineage back to slavery and forward into modern America. Again, it is a chunky book, but it's not just big in size, but it's so big in scope and heart. And when I tell people read this when you're ready to feel, I mean it, because it's history, it's poetry, it's storytelling, it's resistance, it's just so many things. And every friend I've convinced to read it says the same thing, that this book changed them. So yes, it's a long book, but it's the kind of book that you'll live inside for a while. And honestly, I really want more people to be living in here with me. So, come join us and live in this book. Next up, I want to share with you a dark satire that has been living in my brain rent-free since the second I read it. And it is Sign Here by Claudia Lux. Essentially, this one is hell, but we're making it corporate. We're turning it into a corporation. And our main character works in the deals department of hell. And essentially, he gets people to sign their souls away. Now, he is one signature short of a promotion that would erase his guilt and reset him. But there are things that get messy, both morally and otherwise. This is a very funny, but sharp and dark, surprisingly emotional read. It's also one of the best metaphors for burnout and ambition and life climbing the corporate ladder. This is kind of the perfect mashup of The Good Place meets American Psycho meets The Office. It's just all these things in one. So if you like your satire with heart but a bit of demons, I really think you'll enjoy this one. Now, the next book completely rewired my brain for fiction and how I read classics. And it's James by Percival Everett. Now, Mark Twain gave us Huckleberry Finn, but Percival Everett gave us Jim. This is essentially a retelling of Jim's story, and it takes one of the most beloved but also misunderstood characters in classic American literature and restores his full humanity. Because in James, we see that Jim isn't just escaping slavery. He's outsmarting everyone around him. He's wrestling with morality, philosophy, freedom, and more. But most importantly, it's all about what it means to be a man in a world that's built to deny you that humanity. I am telling you, Everett did his big one with this because it's brilliant, it's biting, it's deeply moving. And if you've ever felt like classic literature left someone's story untold, this is the book that fixes that. And yes, I have already pressured 4 people in my life who've read Huck Finn, and I told them, hey, you need to read James. I think it should be required reading at this point. Now, the next book for me is just pure joy. I absolutely adored it. And it's The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakravarti. Because the truth is, not everything has to wreck you emotionally. Sometimes you just need a pirate mom fantasy. And Amina delivered for me. Because in the book, Amina is a middle-aged retired sea captain who gets pulled back for one last heist. It's witty, it's warm, it's filled with sea monsters, ancient artifacts, and the kind of adventure that makes you feel like you're 12 again. So this is for readers who want joy, found family, feminism, again, adventure, just a lot of fun. And honestly, I want to be Amina when I grow up. All right, so these are the books I can't stop recommending. And quite honestly, life is too short to read forgettable books. But now it's your turn. I want to hear from you in the comments. What's your I won't shut up about this book? What story do you keep putting in everyone's hands because you need them to feel exactly what you felt? Share your recommendations in the comments because I'm always adding books to my list, but also so that you can spread the love to other readers. Now, if you haven't already, now's a great time to like the video, share the video, but subscribe and hit that notification bell because I drop new videos every week and I go live every Thursday. But until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.